We got quite a bit done here today, mostly not on this, but we have this thing here turned now. We just pretty much jacked up and pulled her sideways, but I'm getting a little bit of second thoughts about taking this thing. I tried to undo these bolts and everything's just rotted out underneath there. So I'm going to contact the promoter and see if I can do any repairs to this right there and see what he says. And if we got to repair it, we got to repair it. There's not much you can do if you can't do it. So subframe still got to come out of it, and that's pretty much it for tonight. It's almost 10 o'clock, but yeah, I'm not overly liking this thing missing. That's your main frame right there, and we'll be working on it, trying to get it all fixed up here. I get a little bit of rust in that hole, but it doesn't look too bad other than that. Like usually these strut towers are pretty mangled. This thing here doesn't look too bad. But we'll be getting this motor out of here and then taking a look at the rust here a little bit better, but I definitely want to take an Avalon back to Mini Meltdown. I don't want to do the Camrys to Meltdown. I think that there's just more RAM, more metal in the back of these Avalons. So, well, we did it. We got the motor out. Now, if you guys couldn't see, this is what I was talking about. This is what's all rusty inside here. So we need to make the call to see if we can start patching this, send in some photos, and see what we can do, because that, my friends, is no effing good. No effing good. So now that we got the engine out, we can kind of do a... This side here is bad, but not as bad as that side. I don't know. It looks okay. Doesn't really look fantastic. The other one was all rotted out right here, and this one's not rotted out right there, so maybe that could be an advantage. I don't know. So what we got to do now is take this motor outside. My exporter guy is kind of screwing me around a little bit on these motors, but I'm still going to save him for him. He owes me a little bit of money right now, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, so what we're going to do is... just get this thing out of here. I gotta go deliver some snow tires to my neighbor. He dropped off some snow tires for me to put on his wife's car, so I just did that. And then we'll come back in and try to come up with a game plan for this car. So now with the motor out, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start cleaning up this engine bay. We're gonna get rid of a lot of the wiring. We're gonna get rid of a lot of the fuse panels. All that brake stuff is going in the trash, so don't worry about that. We're gonna save a couple lines, so then that way we can reroute all of our brake lines without actually bending any lines. We're going to get rid of this fuse panel. We're going to pull this fender out just like this one, because what we have to do is we have to start getting this to be ready to be cut off. I am going to do quite a bit of work to this car, but I don't really know how far I'm going to take it. And the reason for that is I really want to get working on my Tacoma this winter. And my Tacoma is something I really want to drive in 2023. And for any of you guys that don't know, new to the channel guys, I have this Tacoma. It doesn't look like much, but it's got a V8 in it. A little bit of wiring left to do to it. Transmission has to be taken out because I had lost the oil pump in it. So the motor has to come back out so I can redo a couple of things that I wasn't really overly happy with when I did them the first time. So the motor's got to come out, transmission's got to come out. So I do want to get this in the shop probably just around New Year. So I have about another 2 weeks to be working on this car. So what my plan is to get it as far as I can, cut off the front of the car, get it so I can pick it up with the Walden, bring it outside, and then just pretty much put all this stuff into it for the winter. All my cage, the gas tank, all that fun stuff. I'm going to try to get some measurements for the rear subframe, so then that way I can take that subframe to work and try to put it on the brake press and straighten it out. We're going to be cutting all this off and putting it inside the car just to try to get it so it's a little bit better. I don't know. We'll have to see what I can do and what I can't do, but I think we're going to be doing pretty good, to be honest, guys. So, let's start cleaning up this engine bay. Would you look at that? So much more space for activities. I took the air gun, I blew out all the leaves from underneath here. I got rid of pretty much everything that wasn't needed as of right now. I rerouted all the lines into my factory Avalon slave cylinder, master cylinder, but I stripped this thread because it wasn't exactly straight. So I put a Camry one on it. So the advantages of the Camry one is it's actually a lot smaller and it's about 1 inch shorter. Is it going to work? I don't know. You know what? I can test it. If it doesn't work, I can pull another one off an Avalon, or I can change out the whole Master to a Camry Master. The only difference is the Camry Master is wider, so then that way it kind of sticks out farther. I think I can probably make it work, just do some adjustments to make it work. It's going to be nice because it sucks it in tighter and the strut tower won't smash off the master cylinder. It'd be nice to get rid of the booster altogether, and I imagine there's a way to do it, but that's a little bit too much magoovering for me right now. So we've got everything set up and we're getting ready to do some more stuff with that, but that's going to be tomorrow's video. But why don't you guys come back tomorrow and we will show you what I'm going to do to cut this. It's going to involve a straight edge and it's going to involve this marker and some zip discs, and I'm going to show you guys how I remove this and slide it back and then reattach it. Now I'm not allowed to weld it, so we're going to be trying to use as many factory holes as we can, including the holes here in the fenders and everything, to help put this back in. We're going to be reusing these holes here. We're going to be reusing these holes here. We're going to be reusing as much of the factory holes as we can to help put this rad cradle back in. And honestly, I'd like to get rid of this rad cradle and put a W-body rad cradle in it, but I'm not allowed. So we're going to show you guys what I do to try to make this thing tough in the front. Here in Ontario, we're not allowed to move the rad cradle, but in New York, you're allowed to. So we're going to be shortening the frame, putting the rad cradle back in. We just can't weld it. So guys, stay tuned. We're going to have all the tools we need here tomorrow to be getting done on this. So let's get some lines. These are going to be very, very rough marks. We're going to want to cut this here. Oh, my marker isn't working. Too cold. It's covered in antifreeze, it tastes like. So we're going to cut this here so then that way we can slide over top and try to catch as many factory holes as we can. Then we're going to cut the frame here, up this side, straight across the top. And we're going to do the same on this side. So let's start cutting this thing. So what we're going to try to do, I'm going to explain this to you as best as we can. We're not allowed to re-bolt this rad cradle in, but re-weld it in, but we can use factory existing holes and we can wire it in using 9-wire or the factory wiring harness. And the reason is we're going to cut the frame shorter. I personally think this is your crush box here on the Toyotas, and by removing it, I think it makes it tougher. The reason why I do not remove this here on a lot of the cars I run in Ontario is mostly because I'm not allowed to. As of our rules of 2022, we were not allowed to do anything to the front of the frame. If you cut it and then re-welded it, or you just cut it flat so it was flat to this, you would actually be failed from tech, unfortunately. So apparently as of 2023, we're allowed to shorten it up to the rad cradle. So it's a bonus. But in the past, we were allowed to go to here, which kind of made things a little interesting. It made a little bit more work on the front of the car, but we used to be able to do, there's still some shows here in Ontario that allow, but we used to be able to do whatever we wanted in the front 6 inches. So if you cut your frame short, then you can do whatever you wanted in the front 6 inches of the frame. People were boxing the tops, the sides, the bottoms, everything. So, I haven't really looked at the mini meltdown rules for 2023, but I still assume that you can cut it shorter. So you guys know me, I'm gonna cut it shorter. So I'm gonna get a straight edge out here, which is just a piece of steel, to make sure that I cut it square on both sides of the frame, and then I'll 90 it down and just make sure that everything is looking good pretty much. And then we'll start cutting. We'll come in with a mini grinder. Now we are going to cut this across here and down here, so then that way it gives me something a little bit better to use to hold the rad cradle in on the frame. So we'll see what we can do. It doesn't have to be perfect right now, I just have to get it moved in. What I would actually really like to do is get rid of this rad cradle completely and then put a W-body support into these. I've done it twice now, and I think it makes a huge difference. So if I read the rules later on, I'm allowed to put a W body support. This is just going to be wired in, and it's going to come right back out. So W body all the way for the rad supports, but Camry for stock class, W body for full out mod. Let's get this thing starting to be cut. So we got it kind of all marked out. We got what we kind of want to do up there. You got this here. You're guys are gonna ask why I got the extra line. I'll show that to you in a bit, but pretty much what we're going to do is start cutting now and answer questions later. It's the easiest way to do it, to be honest. Cut first, ask questions later. So let's get cutting, and then we'll show you guys what it looks like here after we got it off.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it, and I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory. Yeah, don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. I just want a life that is worth every day exploring.
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me.
So as you guys can see, we got the front of the frame cut off. We have everything that we don't want cut off of these. Those are unneeded now. Not liking how rusty it is in there. But you know, these cars are getting older, and Canadian winters are not treating them any better than what they used to, so it's gonna have to be a tough call on that one. But anyway, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna try to fit this rad cradle onto the front of this, and then just give you an idea of how it's gonna look. We're not gonna do anything yet to hold it into place, but we're gonna take this off, so then that way there's a little bit more space to be able to be bolting it down and onto there. So let's get this on there and see how it actually looks inside of here. And we do have those two holes over there that we can mount it up with, and we got these ones right here that we can do as well. So let's see how well this fits. So as you guys can see, oh, there goes Harley. We do have it just put up here just roughly on the frame. Be getting an idea, we still have to do a little bit of fitment underneath here to make this thing fit. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back in with our marker and put some lines on it. And what I'd like this to do is I'd like this to overlap this as much as possible. It's all factory steel. It's not adding anything. It's not subtracting anything. So I just want to try to make it all go back to basically as strong as it can be without being called out for doing more than I'm allowed to do. So let's get this refitted and see how it looks.